Hello and welcome to the session Approaches to Instruction. Because of the rapidly changing nature of our global cultural environment and the role of literacy in enhancing personal, social and cultural development, the concept of literacy is now expanding to include digital, visual and electronic media and popular culture. The dominant teaching learning model has been now one of the greatest transmissions, that is, transmitting information to students has changed. Process of learning has also changed a lot. Learning is an interactive process. The process of instruction has a great role to play in it. Knowledge of teaching and learning styles has led to an appreciation of what constitutes the best practice in meeting individual student needs. A student's learning style is the unique way in which she or he prefers to learn. Teachers also have unique learning styles. They have a unique style of instruction in a classroom. Instructional methods are used by teachers to create learning environments and to specify the nature of activity in which the learner and teacher will be involved during the lesson. Skill is very necessary in adopting any technique in teaching. These include techniques such as questioning, discussing and direction giving and explaining and demonstrating. They also include such actions as planning, structuring, focusing and managing. Teachers are to be encouraged to implement a variety of instructional strategies in order to meet the objectives of a unit as well as to address individual student interest, needs and strength. If a teacher consistently teaches using a preferred learning style, there may be numerous students whose learning styles do not match that of a teacher and therefore their needs will not be met. For this purpose, it is important that teachers utilize a variety of instructional approaches throughout each unit. The decision of the teacher to fix on which approach to adopt will depend upon various things. Teachers will have to focus on curriculum, the prior experiences and knowledge of students, learner interest, student learning styles and the developmental levels of the learners. There are 5 categories of instruction strategies that can be employed by a teacher. They are direct instruction, indirect instruction, interactive instruction, experiential learning and independent study. These methods or approaches of instruction are used to select and to structure teaching strategies, methods, skills and student activities for a particular instructional emphasis. Determining which method of instruction to use in a classroom can sometimes be difficult because there are many different instructional methods which may be used in a training environment. Each method has certain advantages and disadvantages. Some are more suited for certain kinds of instruction than others. Each of the different methods requires greater or lesser participation by students. One method or perhaps a combination of methods is usually most appropriate for most subject matter and objectives. Based on your subject matter, you will need to determine which instructional methods will best showcase the information you will be teaching. Module 2, Direct Instruction. Direct instruction is the most commonly used instructional methods in a classroom. The direct instruction strategy is highly teacher directed. This type of instruction posits that the most effective way to teach is by explicit guided instructions. This method of teaching directly contrasts other styles of teaching which might be more passive or encourage exploration. It is a very common teaching strategy relying on strict lesson plans and lectures with little or no room for variation. This strategy includes methods such as lecture, didactic questioning, explicit teaching, practice and drill and demonstrations. Direct instruction does not include activities like discussion, recitation, seminars, workshops, case studies or internships. The direct instruction strategy is effective for providing information or developing step-by-step skills. This strategy also works well for introducing other teaching methods or actively involving students in knowledge construction. While this strategy may be considered among the easier to plan and use, it is clear that effective direct instruction is often more complex than it would first appear. Direct instruction methods are widely used by teachers, particularly in the higher grades. Benefits of direct instruction include delivering large amounts of information in a timely manner. Critics argue that direct instruction is nothing but canned teaching with little room for the personalization of lesson plans. Principles of direct instruction. 1. Introduction. This step is also known as focusing event. Here, the topics or information to be learned is presented to the students. The students are informed as to what the learning goal or outcome is for the lesson and why it is important or relevant. 2. Development. Once the goal is communicated to the students, the teacher provides clear explanations, descriptions, examples or models of what is to be learned. The teacher frequently asks questions to see if the students have properly understood what is being taught. At this stage, the teacher can also use visual aids and multimedia presentations to encourage them. 3. Guided practice. If the teacher is sure that the students respond positively, he or she provides the students with opportunities to practice what is expected to be learned while the teacher monitors the activities or tasks assigned. 4. Closure. As a final step, the teacher concludes the lesson and gives a recap of what is covered. 5. Independent practice. Assignments, activities and tasks are given by the teacher related to the topic of learning. This is to reinforce that students have understood what has been learning without teacher assistance. 6. Evaluation. This final step is to assess the progress of the students. Evaluation of pupils' learning provides necessary feedback to both the teacher and the pupil and can be used to determine whether expected learning outcomes have been met. Indirect instruction. Indirect instruction is mainly student centered. Indirect instruction methods include reflective discussion, concept formation, concept attainment, problem solving and guided inquiry. It takes advantage of a student's interest and curiosity, often encouraging them to generate alternatives or solve problems. Here the role of teacher shifts from a lecturer to that of a facilitator or supporter. The teacher arranges the learning environment and provides opportunity for student involvement. This method is flexible because it frees students to explore diverse possibilities and reduces the fear associated with the possibility of giving incorrect answers. Indirect instruction also fosters creativity and the development of interpersonal skills and abilities. Students often achieve a better understanding of the material and ideas under study and develop the ability to draw on these understandings. Indirect instructions relies heavily on the use of print, non-print and human resources. It has the advantage of making the student an active learner. Here learning is something that is done by the student, not done to the student. Indirect instruction enhances creativity and helps to develop problem solving skills. Its resource based nature brings depth and breadth to the learning experience. Like other strategies, it also has disadvantages. Indirect instruction is more time consuming than direct instruction. Indirect instruction is not the best way of providing detailed information or encouraging step-by-step skill acquisition. It is inappropriate to use this strategy when content memorization and immediate recall is desired. Because indirect instruction is learning centered, it may take more time to accomplish learning goals than direct instruction. As facilitator, the teacher must give control of the learning to the students, which may initially be uncomfortable. And there is also more of a challenge involved in ensuring that the students do accomplish the required learning objectives. Module 3: Interactive Instruction. Interactive instruction focuses on discussions and sharing among participants and allows two-way communications. It allows for a range of groupings and interactive methods. These may include total class discussions, small group discussions or projects, or student pairs or triads working on assignments together. For this method to be successful, it is important for the teacher to outline the topic, the amount of discussion time, the composition and size of groups, and reporting or sharing techniques. The success of the interactive instruction strategy and its many methods is heavily depend upon the expertise of the teacher in structuring and developing the dynamics of the group. Interactive instruction requires the refinement of observation, listening, interpersonal and intervention skills and abilities both by the teacher and the students. Experiential learning. Experiential learning is learner centered and activity oriented. A teacher can use experiential learning as an instruction strategy both in and outside the classroom. Experiential learning makes use of a variety of resources. Experiential learning requires no teacher and relates solely to the meaning making process of the individual's direct experience. It is a process of making meaning from direct experiences. For example, going to the zoo and learning through observation and interaction with the zoo environment is much better than reading about animals from the book. But in order to gain genuine knowledge from an experience, certain abilities are required. The learner must be willing to be actively involved in the experience. The learner must be able to reflect on the experience. The learner must possess and use analytical skills to conceptualize the experience. The learner must possess decision making and problem solving skills in order to use the new ideas gained from the experience. Hence, personalized reflection about an experience and the formulation of plans to apply learning to other contexts are critical factors in effective experiential learning. For experiential learning to be truly effective, it should employ the whole learning cycle, that is, from experiencing, sharing, analyzing, inferring and applying. This complete process allows one to learn new skills, new attitudes or even entirely new ways of thinking. Creating an experiential learning environment can be a challenge for educators who usually make use of traditional classroom techniques in the class. Identifying activities that allow learners to understand and absorb concepts can be a new and daunting experience. Possible methods that can be used by teachers can be field trips, storytelling, narratives, games, role playing, surveys, model building, conducting experiments, etc. Concern for student safety, limitations on financial resources and lack of available time are some of the reasons this strategy cannot be applied in all situations. Independent study. Independent study refers to the range of instructional methods which are purposefully provided to foster the development of individual, student initiative, self-reliance and self-improvement. Independent study allows students to explore areas of interest that are not covered in the curriculum. It is sometimes referred to as directed study. It can include learning in partnership with another individual or as a part of a small group. Independent study encourages students to take responsibility for planning and pacing their own learning. Individuals are expected to analyze problems, reflect, make decisions and take purposeful actions. Independent learning enables individuals to respond to the changing demands. Thus, the main goal of this method is to make the student self-sufficient to help students to grow as independent learners. Adequate learning resources for independent study are critical. The teacher who wishes to help students become more autonomous learner will need to support the development of their abilities to access and handle information. It is important to assess the abilities of students they already possess. Independent study is very flexible. It can be used as a major instruction strategy with the whole class in combination with other strategies also. Module 4 Modern Approaches to Instruction. Differentiated Instruction. Differentiated instruction is responsive teaching, keeping the student in mind rather than adopting standardized approach to teaching and learning. It engages students to interact and participate in the classroom in a richer way and gives students a range of ways to access curriculum, instruction and assessment. It is based on the assumption that all students differ in their learning styles, strengths, needs and abilities, and that classroom activities should be adapted to meet these differences. Varying instruction is important because it helps to build interest in the class. Differentiated instruction provides all types of learners with opportunities to use both the innate strength and to shore up weaknesses in a variety of experiences, activities and assessments. Differentiation is the practice of modifying and adapting instruction, materials, content, student projects and products and assessment to meet the learning needs of students. In a differentiated classroom, teachers recognize that all students are different and require varied teaching methods to be successful in school. It is different from traditional method of instruction, which was based on the following model. The teacher delivers instruction typically through lecture. The student is given practice work usually in workbooks or on handouts. The teacher reviews the student's work. The teacher provides feedback on the student's performance. The traditional methods of instruction were uniform and consistent where subjects were taught in a specific order. This method met the needs of only half of the students in a classroom. This instruction mainly focused on memorization and not on high level thinking skills. Differentiated instruction has many advantages over traditional teaching methods. They meet the needs of diverse students with a variety of learning skills. They give best results for students with learning disabilities. They can accommodate students from different cultures. Differentiated instruction stimulates creativity and helps students understand ideas at higher levels of thinking than teaching through written memorization. Multimedia instruction. The simultaneous use of more than one medium to produce a complete learning unit is known as multimedia instruction. It is also known as web-based training or computer-based training. Multimedia-based learning is becoming increasingly common. While it has limitations and certainly should not be seen as a substitute for face-to-face interaction, it does have numerous advantages for professional development of teachers. Multimedia instruction works well for all kinds of content. Both very complex material and very simple information can be delivered easily. There are many approaches to multimedia instruction. The most current being the so-called wired classroom, which permits students individually or simultaneously to use their personal computers. It can also take the form of training, presentations, software simulation, job simulation, testing, reference or online help. Prior to the development of the wired classroom, multimedia instruction depend largely on tape recorders, slide and film projectors and classroom displays of graphics, art and other exhibits. There are various advantages of using multimedia instructions. It is interactive. During a multimedia instruction, the learners are actively engaged. Interactive tools may include multiple choice questions, fill in the blanks, selecting all right answers, or matching by dragging and dropping graphics. Feedback engages the learner even more since machines are not judgmental. It is tailored to learner needs. Learners can take the training when they want, as often as they want, and at a pace that is right for them. It is cost effective. A multimedia instruction is very useful in situations where users are spread over a wide area. It can be used even in a big lecture halls. It is efficient and effective. By using modern technology in classroom, the learners typically learn more in a shorter period of time. It is easy to revise and update. With multimedia instruction, especially the internet, changes made to one copy are immediately available to all learners. But whether multimedia instruction is suitable for a particular class situation depends on a variety of factors like cost, number of learners, location of the classroom and its availability. Multimedia gadgets are very expensive, but a very large audience may reduce cost greatly and possibly allow you to deliver instruction more effectively and economically than with paper based instruction. If your learners are spread over broad geographical areas, computer based training or web based training may be the only way to provide accurate and effective training to everyone. Let us summarize the major points discussed in this session. The concept of literacy is now expanding to include digital, visual and electronic media because of the rapidly changing nature of our global cultural environment. The dominant teaching learning model has been one of the greatest transmissions now. Process of learning has also changed a lot. Teachers are to be encouraged to implement a variety of instruction strategies in order to meet the objectives of a unit as well as to address individual student interest, needs and strength. If a teacher consistently teaches using preferred learning style, there may be numerous students whose learning styles do not match that of a teacher and therefore their needs will not be met. For this purpose, it is important that teachers utilize a variety of instruction approaches throughout each unit. There are 5 categories of instruction strategies that can be employed by a teacher. They are direct instruction, indirect instruction, interactive instruction, experiential learning and independent study. These methods or approaches of instruction are used to select and to structure teaching strategies, methods, skills and student activities for a particular instructional emphasis. They determine the approach a teacher may take to achieve learning objectives. The chapter discusses in detail the various instruction strategies, their advantages and disadvantages. Direct instruction is the most commonly used instruction methods in a classroom. The direct instruction strategy is highly teacher directed. It is a common teaching strategy relying on strict lesson plans and lectures with little or no room for variation. This strategy includes methods such as lecture, didactic questioning, explicit teaching, practice and drill and demonstrations. The direct instruction strategy is effective for providing information or developing step-by-step skills. Indirect instruction is mainly student centered. Indirect instruction methods include reflective discussion, concept formation, concept attainment, problem solving and guided inquiry. It takes advantage of a student interest and curiosity, often encouraging them to generate alternatives or solve problems. Interactive instruction focuses on discussion and sharing among participants and allows two-way communication. It allows for a range of groupings and interactive methods. Experiential learning is learner centered and activity oriented. Experiential learning requires no teacher and relates solely to the meaning making process of the individual's direct experience. Independent study refers to the range of instructional methods which are purposefully provided to foster the development of individual student initiative, self-reliance and self-improvement. The last module of the unit focuses on the new approaches that are adopted to make instruction a success. This mainly involves differentiation technique. Differentiated instruction is responsive teaching, keeping the student in mind rather than adopting standardized approach to teaching and learning. It is based on the assumption that all students differ in their learning styles, strengths, needs and abilities, and that classroom activities should be adapted to meet these differences. Varying instruction is important because it helps build interest in the class. Differentiated instruction provides all types of learners with opportunities to both use innate strength and to shore up weaknesses in a variety of experiences, activities and assessments. The unit also compares this method of instruction to the traditional method. Another important approach to instruction is the multimedia approach. It is a simultaneous use of more than one medium to produce a complete learning unit. It is also known as web-based training or computer-based training. Both very complex material and very simple information can be delivered easily in this type of instruction. The module concludes with the various advantages of multimedia instruction. Now you can try to answer the given questions here. What is experimental learning? What are the 5 approaches to instruction? Compare direct instruction to indirect instruction. What is your understanding of independent study method? Write a short note on multimedia instruction and its advantages. Now you can go through these books for reference. Learning and Teaching in Physical Education by Colin A. Hardy and Michael Maver, Routledge, London, 1999. Multimedia Learning by Richard E. Meyer, published by Cambridge University Press, 2001. Learning and Instruction by Richard E. Meyer, Merrill, 2003. Hope that you have enjoyed this session. We will meet again with another topic. Thank you.